it feels overwhelming and weirdly good to constantly be stressed out. I don't know any other way of operating. I've been this way for so long. They selected and celebrated extremely high achievers. It felt natural for me to try to chase that, even as I was burning out. Friends and family were like, this doesn't seem healthy for you, but I refused to quit. I'm on constant alert all the time. I just don't know who I am when I'm not operating like this. She's a little bit running around in circles saying, I don't have time to talk. This recording was a little act of rebellion against Frazzled Dora. Time for reflection and growth is not time that's badly spent. And she forgets that. It's like, all these years of fighting myself, and the answer feels so simple now. It was always there.
I'm Emily Eldredge, and this is Dark, Light, Truth, where we dive into people's darkness, reclaim their light, and reveal their truth. What you're about to hear is a real person going through an actual session of the drawing out process, my 7-step emotional healing technique in which we draw out, talk with, and fully heal an inner part or parts at the core of a person's struggle. In every session, there's a new inner mystery for us to solve, compelling us to investigate who is the inner culprit causing the struggle, why is it there, and how is it trying to protect the person or itself. Once we hear its stories and its truths, we'll heal it, so that rather than hurting the person, it can now help them live their highest, most radiant truth. Every drawing out process session is filled with surprises, epiphanies, twists, and turns. We never know what we will encounter, nor who. It all depends on the world that formed within that person in reaction to their life experiences, as well as what their inner wisdom deems is ready to heal, once and for all. Listen closely, because you never know. Hearing someone else heal their darkness just might help you heal yours, too. Join me now for my session with a very hardworking Portuguese-American woman named Dora. What you will hear is an edited version of her full 2-hour and 45-minute session, which she volunteered to record for this podcast. Let's listen as she describes her struggle with workaholism that brought her here today, which we'll discover is fueled by much deeper fears than we are initially led to believe, and which will ultimately teach us the incredible power that inner parts have in keeping us alive. Just so you know, every participant in the podcast is required to take my free 45-minute course, during which they learn how to draw out an inner part. Dora starts by describing something that she drew out, and we go from there.
What I ended up drawing was like a version of myself as a computer sitting on a desk, but like with my eyes like X's, like this computer is dead. And I chose that drawing. It took me, this was another thing that I like really worked on. I was like, I'm not sure, like who is it, what is inside me, like what do I need to come out? And I just started doodling, and eventually I drew a computer, and that kind of clicked. Like that really made a lot of sense to me, because I am how do I want to say this? I have been taught that my purpose in some ways, like coming from an immigrant family. I think a lot of immigrant children feel this way,
Hmm.
because there's very much the like, I didn't come to this country for you to not work hard. I worked really hard. You have to work really hard.
Yep.
And so I think I've been constantly taught my whole life that my purpose is to be productive, be like an ant marching. And for me, that really manifests as overworking myself. And I don't feel like, not to say I don't have joy in my life or anything, because I do, but I feel like the vast majority of my life is overshadowed by my need to be productive, mostly manifests itself as work, where I'm always available. Obviously, this isn't just me. This is, I think, generally culturally, this is how a lot of people operate. But like always being available, always wanting to be seen as um, nice and productive and a good worker and like somebody that can be relied on. And then in my personal life, it manifests as like, my poor husband, because, he just wants to relax on a Saturday afternoon. And I'm like, no, we must meal prep for the week because I work so late every day that I don't have time to make dinner. So if you want something like good for dinner, we have to meal prep today. So it gets in the fridge, and there's like four things around the house that need to be fixed. And I need to call this person, and I need to do that thing, and I need to run this errand, and whatever. So no, there's just very little true rest in my life. And I have found that recently, for the first time ever, I have been oversleeping my alarm. Like,
Oh.
I will wake up. I actually woke up just 2 weeks ago. I opened my eyes and I thought, wow, it's really bright in the room. And I turned over, and my alarm had been going off and auto snoozing for a full hour. And I've never done that
Wow.
in my whole life. I've never overslept my alarm like that. But it
Oh,
happened twice in
wow.
the last month. So I think I'm breaking a little bit here. But yeah.
Hmm. You use the word broken. Tell me about that.
Oh, great question. Uh, I guess I use the word broken because I feel like the part of me that wants to slow down and recognizes, not just once, but like knows that I need to slow down and knows that I need to say no. Like it just feels like it doesn't function, or it's like trapped behind something, a wall. The other part of
Oh.
Dora, it's like trapped behind a wall where the other Dora operates, and the other Dora is like, no, shush. That's not who I am, even though like that part of me does exist, and I do want to like unlock that part and allow that part to operate. Um,
So, as you're saying this, are you seeing that? Like, could you draw that? What you're seeing there? Even if it's stick figures, it's totally fine.
yeah,
Just want to
yeah,
get
I think
more.
I can draw that. Okay. All right, I've got my little stick figures here.
Good, good. All right, what you got there?
So I drew uh, a brick wall,
Uh huh.
and on the back side, the left side of the wall, is a version of me laying on a hammock with a sun, smiling, um, waving, like come on over. And the the Dora on the other side of the wall
Uh huh.
is a Dora with like crazy hair and crazy eyebrows, like sort of mouth in a scream, saying, no, must do all the things.
And is the wall? Tell me about the wall.
Well, I mean, it's, I didn't put much thought into the wall. I just made a brick.
Okay.
um, Logically, I having this conversation, and almost like taking a step outside of myself to like hear myself talk, I know logically that it's the wall is breakable. You know, all walls are breakable. I could go ahead and draw in a little hammer or sledgehammer or bulldozer or something. Like the wall could be taken down, but it feels like such a strong, like it just feels like such a strong presence. Like the wall is still stronger than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't yet have the tools to take it down, to dismantle it.
What are the names of those different characters that you've drawn? And trust whatever comes.
Hmm. You know, I am tempted to call like sort of the frazzled Dora just Dora,
Okay.
because that's how I've operated for so long, that
Okay.
like that just feels like who I am. You know, everybody knows me as like the person who gets stuff done, as like the accountability partner, you know, so like this sort of frazzled to-do list person
Mm-hmm.
feels like me. And the
Okay.
relaxing Dora on the other side of the wall feels like, you know, somebody that I've heard about and I feel like I know, but like isn't really me exactly.
Mm. And if this is okay, if I can call it frazzled Dora and
Yeah.
relaxing Dora and
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
Okay, because we need to call it a name other than you, and other than just Dora, because that gets very confusing.
Yeah.
So it appears that what we have here is two very opposite parts of Dora that are quite clearly at odds with each other, represented by the fact that they are divided by a wall. What are we going to do with these two? Let's see how this goes. Do any of them feel like they need to speak or want to speak or have something to share? And if not, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can I can see relaxing Dora asking like, why? Why don't you just hang out with me? Let's get to know each other. You know, why don't you just chill? Just take 20 minutes. You don't have to give up a whole day. You can you can watch one show and hang out on the couch. Doesn't make you a less of a person. You know, that task on your to-do list, nobody's gonna die if you don't do it. Um, you know, the house is not gonna fall down if you don't add the extra outlet in the basement or something. Whatever fix, you know, whatever fix needs to be done.
Yeah. I'm just curious if, as you were saying those things, you felt any resistance inside you to what she was saying.
I don't want to say it was resistance, but there's definitely a ha 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 ha. You say it's that easy.
Oh. Okay. Who was saying that?
Frazzled Dora.
Frazzled Dora. Okay. So she was like, haha, yeah, okay, whatever. Sure.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Sure, honey. Whatever. Does it sound like Frazzled Dora wants to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, you know, she's a little bit running around in circles saying, I don't have time to talk, but she's willing to.
I love it. I love it. Perfect. So even though Frazzled Dora claims she just doesn't have time to speak with me, she still agrees to speak. Dora is awake and aware through the whole conversation. So I hear that you're running around, you're super busy, you're super frazzled and stressed out. What's going on?
Well, there's a lot to do all the time. The to-do list Um, no matter how many things we check off, keeps growing. Um,
Mm.
so it's basically in a constant state of equilibrium. I can knock 4 things off today, and 4 things will find their way on there tomorrow. So there is incentive to keep going all the time. And hopefully, you know, in 10 years, I'll be able to rest a little bit more. Um, Once the sort of intensity of my career building phase of life is over, and I'm like, a little closer to retirement in my 50s. But for right now, there's just a lot to do.
So how does that feel? Tell me about how it feels to, I mean, I'll just tell you, like, one of the words that comes to mind is overwhelming. Does that feel overwhelming? Like, what are some of the emotions that come up for you, Frazzled Dora?
Yeah, overwhelming for sure. Uh, but there's also a sense of satisfaction, maybe like a little bit of a sick satisfaction in constantly going, um, and pride in the overwhelm. Like I can still get things done, and nobody can stop me. Nobody can tell me otherwise. I can do what I want to do. So um, it feels overwhelming and weirdly good to constantly be stressed out. I don't know any other way of operating. I've been this way for so long.
I mean, it sounds like you're very, almost like that's your identity, is to be really, really busy.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Definitely my identity is to be busy. And that's how I've always marketed myself, as like a good employee and a good coworker. You will find me doing things all the time and getting things done, and you're never going to wonder if I'm slacking off or if I'm taking time off or not where I should be. Like, you can rest assured that my number one goal always is to get things done.
Yeah. So then it's understandable too. Like, well, hey, if I'm feeling good and I'm getting things done and other people are telling me I'm doing a good job, why would I want to stop? I got to keep going.
Right. And I don't want to, I don't ever want my employer to have a reason to let me go or to think that they can't trust me.
Mm.
And, you know, I, it also makes me feel like I'm in control of my own image and how people perceive me. So, I think that if it were between me and someone else who wasn't visibly working so hard, and putting in so many hours, potentially I would be the one to stay if they had to let one of us go. So it's a way of protecting myself and controlling the outcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Frazzled Door, that you said that. It is a way of protecting yourself, isn't it? Let me ask you this, Frazzled Door. Are you aware of Dora?
Yes. She
Yeah.
tries to sneak up every once in a while.
Ah, okay. And when we talk about Dora, are we talking about relaxing Dora or a different Dora?
Yeah, relaxing Dora. Slow down, Dora. Yeah.
And what does she do? What does she say?
She asks me whether the to-do list is actually important, whether something actually needs to be done now, what's the worst that's going to happen if I don't complete the things that I want to do, whether it's at work or in personal life. Um, she tries to make plans with family and friends, um, at really inconvenient times, but you know I'm just going to come back home from those plans and keep on working.
So, what we have here in Frazzled Dora is what I call a controller. A controller is one of the 3 types of inner struggles that I've identified through the drawing out process. But this controller is different from Harry the manhole cover in Josh's session, whereas Harry was much more of a suppressing type of controller, holding Josh down. This one, Frazzled Dora, is really pushing Dora to work harder, to never rest. And notice also that she used the word control quite a few times. She's really trying to control Dora and keep her moving, keep her going in good stead with her employer and for other people to see her as responsible, etc. So the question now is, how, when, why did Frazzled Dora first form within Dora?
So I'm curious, have you been this way forever? Or would you remember the first time you felt this way, Frazzled Dora? Like, was there a moment or a period of your life when suddenly you felt like you needed to be this way? Just curious.
Um, I think I've got sort of 2 points that I could talk about. The first is I feel like I've generally always been kind of a high achiever,
Hmm.
always wanted to do everything and be the helper, be the doer, even in my friend group because I don't drink, you know, my friends and I would go out even in college and like I would be the designated driver, even if I didn't want to be, even if I didn't feel like driving my drunk friends home at night. It like made me feel good to be the doer and the helper at all
Hmm.
times. So
Hmm.
much so that they bought me a designated driver hat, which literally
Ah,
said I am the DD on it, and they would like make me wear it out at a bar. The bartender would know, oh, you're the person who's like in charge of this drunk person. Got it. Um, but I think that it got significantly worse when, or more pronounced, maybe is a better way to say it, when I became a teacher, a high school teacher in 2004, because that program really um, celebrated, they selected and celebrated extremely high achievers who went above and beyond. And it felt natural for me to try to chase that even as I was even as I was burning out in my first year of teaching.
mm,
And like so much so that friends and family were like, "Are you sure you want to keep teaching? Are you like this
mm,
doesn't seem healthy for you?" But I refused to quit. And
mm,
I stayed in the classroom for a few years for my commitment. And in the end, it was like, "Oh, I survived. This was fine. It was fine. I survived." And now I don't know how to not operate at a level that high and put that much pressure on myself at all times.
yeah. What are you afraid would happen if you were to slow down? Which is, what are some of your biggest fears?
I think that the actual biggest fear, like I can list off lots of little fears that essentially culminate in I I just don't know who I am when I'm not operating like this. And it would
Oh.
feel like I'm losing like an essential piece of me to not be this way
Mm.
or to minimize that piece of me.
That sounds like a really big fear. Where does that come from?
It's very much a part of my upbringing.
Mm,
My parents are like this too.
mm,
Even in retirement, they've not stopped working. They're almost 80. They both continue working a couple days a week. We as all the kids, like they're me and my siblings, we all think that they should just go ahead and retire completely and move back to Portugal and spend literally the end of their lives having some some enjoyment with you know the family that's still alive. They were young, they were the youngest of their own siblings, and so lots of our my aunts and uncles have already passed, and we want them to be able to enjoy that time with them. They left their family and they came to the US to give their kids a better life, and so now they should go ahead back and give themselves the end of life that we see they deserve. But they they refuse. And so seeing them just work really hard their whole lives, even up to this point in their life at almost 80, just like that's what was modeled for me. It's all I know. It's all I've seen. I can't, my siblings are very much like this too. So I can't imagine any other way of being.
Also, I would ask Frazzled Dora, did you see your parents receiving positive feedback from others for their constant doing, doing, doing? In other words, did the people around them see them as successful and reliable and all those things?
Yeah, our family, back in Portugal definitely sees them as a successful American part of the family.
Mm.
They were able to send some US dollars back in the early 90s when the Portuguese economy was crashing before Portugal adopted the euro. They built a nice house, just using their American dollars. And that was like a really big deal to be able to
Mm.
do that.
Do you feel that pressure? Like, well, I have to do my own thing. I have to have my own legacy. I have to work really hard and be just as successful to validate or make them feel good for having worked so hard to help me and create this life for me.
Yes, 100%. And
Okay.
especially since I'm the only one who didn't have children, my parents very much saw me as a little bit of a black sheep and questioned
Oh,
whether I was like truly fulfilled. And so it's easier to show that I am with being successful in other ways.
I see. So it's like there's a lot to prove, Frazzle Dora.
Yeah.
Well, so is there anything else that you want to share, Frazzle Dora? Any other thoughts or feelings or stories, realizations, anything?
I feel like I am just constantly being reinforced
Mm.
by everyone. And you know when relax Dora, when slow down Dora comes out, people may say, go for you, like boundaries and self-care are good, but that's not really the side of Dora that actually gets celebrated or recognized.
Mm. Hmm. So, what I'm hearing in that is the desire and the need to be celebrated and recognized, for others to really appreciate you and value you.
Yeah.
So, what we've been hearing from Frazzled Dora is that Dora's work ethic comes from the people around her, the pressure she's received, from the validation she's also received for being such a hard worker and getting the positive strokes, but also as kind of an overcompensation for the fact that she didn't have children. At the same time, though, Dora's workaholism has been badly impacting her relationships and her mental emotional well being. So the question is Frazzled Dora ready to let this go?
It sounds like, gosh, you've been working so hard for so long.
Yeah, I feel like I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to keep doing this forever?
No.
No. Yeah. So, just for fun, even if it feels so foreign to you, like, how would you rather feel? What would you rather do if you weren't just constantly going, going, going?
I would rather feel like I had more of a balance, like I'm not always kind of fighting with myself on how to
Mm.
use the little time I have during the day, and to give myself a little bit of even occasional permission to stop stop communicating with work, you know, at 5 to
Yeah.
like have healthier, have more time to myself.
Yeah. And if you were to feel okay having that time, Frazzled Dora, like what would feel good for you? Like, oh, how would I spend that time that would feel so good?
Pro- Probably sleep, nap occasionally.
Okay. Yeah. Nap.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. I right now, so my really single hobby, I guess I have two hobbies. One is reading, and I read and I listen to audiobooks. My other hobby is like running and yoga, and right now I kind of have to like, even though I love doing both of those things, I like fight myself to get up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. every day to make sure I get that run in or to get the yoga in. And I would probably give myself permission to do those things in the afternoon instead, you know,
Mm.
because if I weren't trying to be so productive all night, whether work or personal, I would maybe be able to go out and do 6 miles, which is only an hour. Like 1 hour isn't a huge ask of time. I can do that in the afternoon and maybe let myself sleep in a little bit or have a more leisurely morning. Maybe actually take a class. Like I've always wanted to learn martial arts. Maybe I could finally take a class because all those classes are in the evenings and I never do them because I don't stop working in time.
Okay. Wow. How does that feel when you think about that?
Great. It
Yeah.
feels truly it feels impossible. Like
Okay.
I don't even know how to not, like I said, I don't know how to not be this way. And so it just feels like a big dream.
So, after a bit more conversation with frazzled Dora, it continued to feel as though she wasn't quite getting there. She really just wasn't ready to let go of this job. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I go back to talking to Dora? Because here's the thing, sometimes from my perspective, I'm feeling like we're not really getting anywhere. But then when I go back to talk to the person, they'll say, oh, wow, I had some incredible epiphanies, and that actually shifts were happening without me even being aware of them. So I figure let's talk to Dora again and see what's going on with her.
How are you feeling?
Feel I'm feeling a little bit emotionally drained.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about that.
A lot of revelations.
Ah, yeah.
I mean, I guess on some level, I already knew a lot of these
Mm.
things and I recognized them, but just never had the chance to. I don't. I felt these things is what I should say. I felt these
Mm.
things, but never articulated them or really like put those words and feelings outside of myself. I know that it's unhealthy for not just for me, but for like my relationships to constantly operate on such a high level of go go go. Like I lose out on quality time with my husband, um, because spending time instead of spending true quality time with him, he's like running errands with me, or I'm leaving him behind so I can run an errand, or I'm making us solve problems instead of instead of just enjoying our time together. I am not the best version of me at work. I When I was interviewing for my new job and they asked what are some of your strengths and what are some of your weaknesses, I could I could honestly say, my biggest weakness is that I work too much, which sounds so ridiculous and cliche, But like, no, truly, I work so much to the point that I am burnt out and miserable. And that's not good for the people that I work with, and it's not good for me. And on some level, saying no, I have to understand that saying no, or saying I don't have the bandwidth for that, or what do you want me to reprioritize in order to do that for you? Like, that's not going to actually cause me to lose my job. And yet, I don't say those things. I just keep saying yes. And then I work until 9 or 10 every day. Then I'll work all day Saturday and give up time, free time that I might have had in order to please somebody who's not me. And then in like a sick way, I tell myself it's a way to please me and myself because I'm being so productive. But actually, like, I feel tired and miserable.
Oh, yeah.
In a way, it feels like I'm squandering the choice to be child free. You know, like, so many of my friends obviously they're so happy to be moms, no matter how exhausted they are, no matter how much of a burden it can be. Like, all but one of them had told me that, like, this was the right life choice for them, and whatever time they lose to figure out hard things related to their kids is totally worth it. And instead of enjoying the theoretical time that I was giving myself to bring myself joy in other ways, I'm not. I'm just adding more work and problem solving and, yeah, work and problem solving to my plate. Like, I'm cheating myself in a way out of joy.
Okay. You drew before the frazzled Dora on the wall and relaxing, slow down, Dora. I'm curious how that appears to you now. What does it look like? Has it changed at all?
A frazzled Dora feels a little less frazzled, maybe, and is looking a little more beat down, a little worse for the wear.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to redraw her
Yeah.
or the whole scene? It's up to you. Whatever feels good for you. Okay, what you got there?
So, in lieu of the previous frazzled Dora, I drew a Dora whose hair is still frazzled, who still has sort of lightning bolts coming out of the top of her head.
Uh-huh.
But instead of like a mean, screaming face, it's more like a resigned, like, long frown, closed eyes. I didn't redraw relaxing Dora though.
Does she look any different?
No, she's still back there like, hey.
She's still chilling. She's still in her hammock waving.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be this way, is what she's trying to say over the wall.
So, what I'm always listening for in an inner part is that they're more calm, open, and receptive to a new way of being. So the fact that Frazzled Dora isn't, running around and just continually working and going crazy is actually a good sign. Unfortunately, she's just resigned, though. She's not quite there yet. She's not entirely happy with this new possible way of being. But you know what? Let's just take her through the next couple of steps and see what happens.
Her intentions have been good. So how would it feel if I were to guide you to thank Frazzled Dora for what she's been trying to do for you? Would that be okay?
Sure. I mean, yes, and also like I'm hesitant to thank her because it's too much.
Because it's too much. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you so much for saying that. So here I'll explain. It's thanking her for what she's been trying to do for you. So it's not like, thanks for overwhelming the shit out of me. No, it's like, thank you for what you've been trying to do and acknowledging how hard she's worked. That's basically what I'm going to guide you to do.
Okay.
So normally I don't include much of the thanks step, but it turns out that what Dora says to Frazzled Dora is pivotal in revealing the deeper, more profound reason why Frazzled Dora has been doing this job and has thus far refused to fully let it go.
Your persistence to keep going has helped me through some pretty rough times when I was feeling like I didn't know if I wanted to even live anymore. So, thank you for helping me get through those periods too.
Wow, I just want to stop for a moment and acknowledge what you said, where she actually, in some ways, helped keep you alive through some tough stuff.
Yeah, there were times when just waking up and knowing I had to live through that day was impossible. And so, finding a therapist was something that she put on my to-do list, and getting on antidepressants. So,
Wow. Amazing.
yeah.
She saved your life.
Yeah.
So did you hear what I just heard? That Frazzled Dora has been doing far more than just giving her significance and helping her get validation from her parents and from others. Frazzled Dora saved Dora's life when she was suicidally depressed. And I just want to take a moment right now to point out that a lot of times when it comes to things like workaholism, the way people can tend to approach it is, well, I just need a time management course, or I just need to go to a spa and relax for a while. But unless those deeper fears are addressed, the cycle will continue. That's why it is so incredibly important that we get to the core fears and core beliefs and core issues that fuel these behaviors within us. So now that this truth about Frazzled Dora has been revealed, let's take her through the explain step and see what you think about whether or not Frazzled Dora sounds like she's done yet.
How'd she respond to that?
With you'll be back.
With what?
You'll be back.
Like she's saying that to you?
Yeah, you'll be back to me.
Oh! So tell me what she means by that.
That despite my best efforts in the past, I have always gone back to rely on how she operates,
Oh, interesting.
you know. So kind of a we've been here before.
Oh, so she didn't really take it seriously what you said. She's like, yeah, yeah, okay.
Right, exactly.
So she's not really believing it. And let me ask you this: how are you feeling? Are you not believing it either, or are you genuinely like, no, I really am ready to start a new phase here?
I really I really want to start a new phase. Really, really, really.
Mhm.
Like just when you and I first discussed this recording, at first I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Of course. Like I would love that. And then when I saw that it was a 3 hour commitment, plus the pre-work, I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
there's too many other things I need to do.
Uh-huh.
So this was a little act of rebellion against Frazzled Dora.
Oh, okay.
Time for
Interesting.
reflection and growth is not time that's badly spent, and she forgets that.
These parts cause problems for us usually because they'll take us over. Like they take control over us instead of you being in control. And I'm not saying controlling them, but that it's you're making a conscious choice. So like for example, there may be times when it's like, yeah, I got to put my nose to the grindstone and I got to work really hard. But at the same time, I can choose. I have full control over whether or not I work really hard or whether or not I choose to relax and hang out with my husband. You see, but up to now, she's been the one in control.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be nice to just sort of like feel like you want to work hard when you want to work hard?
Yeah. And
And
honestly, hearing you say that is like, whoa, it never even occurred to me that that would be an option.
okay, right. Well, she's been a very big, very powerful, very present part of you for a very long time.
Yeah.
But she is not who you are. She is a part of you that's a freaking awesome part of you, but who's been overworking. She's been overactive and actually overreactive.
Yeah.
It just gets tiring. And I know that my intention is always, nope, we're going to heal that part of you. So it's not a compulsion for you anymore. It's more of this is now a part of your power as opposed to something you have to manage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you notice how you went,
No, I didn't even realize.
yeah. It's a lot of what I listen for. It's a good sign. It's like, yeah, that's what I want. Good. Good. This is wonderful.
So I asked Dora a few more questions, and her answers really solidified for me that no, Frazzled Dora was not done doing her job just yet. Usually, when this happens, when an inner part has already gone through most of the steps of the process, and yet it still hasn't let go of its job or its feeling or its behaviors, that indicates to me that there's something that it hasn't yet shared that it needs to share, or maybe that it needs to hear in order for it to fully release and be at peace so the person can be at peace. So I asked Dora if I could go back to talking to Frazzled Dora, and she said yes. So here's Frazzled Dora again. As always, Dora is fully awake and aware through our whole conversation.
So I hear that you've been like, watching the proceedings and paying attention to what's going on. What are your thoughts about things?
Well, my thoughts are that Dora has tried to find balance before and has made changes in her life to mm, keep me at bay and to not let me take over. But she has consistently fallen back into needing me. And so I'm not
Mm.
convinced yet that this is the time that she's going to make a different decision when this
Oh.
conversation's over.
So I'm just curious, like, how does it feel for you when that pattern happens? Like, do you like seeing her get out of balance? Do you like seeing her, you know, fall back into that old pattern again?
No, frankly, it's exhausting for me too, because I have to be constantly on. I have to be constantly on.
Yeah, so it sounds like you feel like you've had to pick up the pieces a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like I'm on constant alert all the time. I feel like I'm in a constant battle with her.
Yeah. What are you afraid would happen if you weren't here to pick up the pieces?
Probably that she would just kind of break down back into depression like she used to be, like she used to
Oh,
do.
yeah. And you don't ever want her to fall back into that again. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
You were really there for her. You know, you kept her alive.
Yeah,
That's a really heavy job to have to do.
yeah, it was very heavy. Very heavy. That's accurate. It
Yeah.
was not a fun job to do.
Is there something that Dora could say or do to help you feel more safe, relaxing into a new role of just being there to support her, but not feeling like you have to take over? Like, what would help you feel better and reassured?
If I saw that she was making uh, healthy decisions for herself,
So, what's an example of a healthy decision in your mind?
like going, just saying no to things when her initial gut reaction is to say no. Uh,
Oh, interesting.
yeah. And to
Huh.
just, I think, say no more in general and not obsess and stress over making even the smallest decisions because not every decision is that important. But she stresses about every decision.
You didn't use the word boundaries, but almost like set some boundaries. Like she can say no. It's okay for her to say no to things.
Yeah,
And also to not feel like every decision is like a life or death, you know, make or break her life decision.
yeah.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that, Frazzled, is actually I'm hearing that you both want the same things.
It seems so.
And you know what? I have to say, Frazzled, I loved one of the things you, especially loved one of the things you said. And that was, I want her to trust her gut when she feels that she should say no to something. Is that
Yeah,
what you said?
that's right. She doesn't trust her own decision making skills, even when she's made it this far and has been just fine.
So, just for fun, just to get even more specific, like what's one thing, like really specific, it could be small, thing that she could do that to you it would be like, yes, good, she's trusting herself. Like, is like something maybe specific in her life right now that she might have been struggling with, or
Yesterday, she actually made a decision where she trusted her gut and made a really difficult request um, for her own well being. Like she told somebody at work that she just couldn't do a thing that was asked of her, and she just said, "Sorry, it's just not possible." And whereas before she would have always just said, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll get it done."
Oh, okay. So how did that feel for her and how did that feel for you?
Quite frankly, it felt relieving for the both of us because now I don't have to figure out a way for her to get things done, this extra thing done.
Oh my gosh. So that worked for both of you.
Yes.
That's fabulous. Were you so proud of her in that moment?
Yes, because she had been struggling with how to make that request, how to say this thing.
So, how are you feeling in terms of like her trusting her ability to actually move forward in a new phase in which she can do what's right for her and make good decisions for herself? I mean, she might make mistakes sometimes. That's okay. But generally, like, do you feel more trusting of her that, yeah, she can do this? Do you believe in her?
Yeah, I've seen her make a couple decisions lately that are pointing in the right direction. Um, and so I think that she's finally starting to come around to not needing me to be her autopilot.
Mm. And how are you feeling? Are you feeling more relaxed, or is there anything still bothering you that's kind of going, oh, I don't know if I can quite let go control just yet? Just checking to see how you're feeling. Frazzled, Dora.
Well, I'm the part of her that helps her maintain control.
Mm-hmm.
So letting go of control is definitely a challenge
Mm.
for me.
Is there anything you feel that you could do that would feel good for you in terms of ways that you're like, oh, I could do this. I could help her do that. I could support her in this way. This would feel good. And that wouldn't wear you out. Because remember, we also don't want you to get worn out either.
Right. I want her to trust herself, trust in her decision making skills, to not feel like every decision she makes is going to be a right or a wrong decision. Like her decisions are just her decisions, and those are like next steps that she takes in her day to day life, and it's okay to not worry about them.
Mm. Yeah. Like, does she feel it when something's right?
Yes, but she's also been trained to not trust herself.
Okay. Is it certain people who've trained her, or like, are you part of that?
Um, yeah, I became part of that because people in her life made her feel that way, and so when she turned to me, I guess I kind of reinforced it.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Are you going to keep doing that though?
No. No.
Okay. Well, thank you for spending this extra time with me, Frazzledor. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I don't think so. Um, I think it's time for me to finally take a step back.
Good.
Yeah, thank you for your help.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
So, did you hear the request that Frazzled Dora made? She wants Dora to set boundaries and trust herself and honor her intuition and follow through on what it's telling her. And yet, what's so surprising and counterintuitive about that is that Frazzled Dora is the one who's been undermining those things within Dora. Frazzled Dora is the reason why Dora is not trusting herself, not honoring her own boundaries, working past the point of exhaustion, not trusting her own intuition. And Frazzled Dora even acknowledges that, that she's been kind of part of the problem. But that's why it's so important for us to get to the core of why these parts exist and what they really want for the person, which is often wildly contrary to the way they're behaving and the impact they're actually having on that person. So this is classic for a controller, that the way Frazzled Dora has been behaving and treating Dora is having exactly the opposite effect of what Frazzled Dora ultimately wants for Dora. So we go back to talking to Dora and see if you notice any change in Frazzled Dora as a result of our second round of conversation with her.
When you see the scene, the frazzled Dora and relaxing Dora, like what's there now? What's going on?
I think the wall's going to start coming down out of necessity to all three Doras. um, yeah, I think I will need relaxing Dora to process all of this today.
Oh, what's going on with her?
She's just chilling. She's just waiting. Yeah, that's her whole point. That's the whole point. I've been here the
Yeah.
whole time, and you kind of keep ignoring that I exist, but I'm here.
What does frazzled Dora look like?
She's lying down right now.
Okay.
She's
What's that giggle about?
she's finally taken a rest.
Yay! Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Have you drawn her, or do you want to draw her as she appears now?
Yeah. My husband and I have a joke that whenever something is really relieving, like we hear good news about something we've been worried about or whatever, if we're really exhausted, we just lie down exactly in the spot where we're at, even if it's like the middle of the kitchen floor.
Oh, I love it.
And that's
Yeah.
what Frazzledor is doing. She is lying down exactly in the spot in which she was,
Oh,
with
that's
her eyes
great.
closed.
That is great.
And her hair is not as frazzled.
Is she, let me make sure. Is she feel like she's done with her job?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. She's not going to suddenly like jump back into trying to, save the day.
No. And if she tries, it's I think I feel better equipped to tell her it's okay. Take a step back. You can chill. You can go
Good.
back to lying on the floor.
Yeah. So like what is a way that would feel good for you? It's always got to feel good for you. But what's a way that would feel good for you that she could, maybe bring something to your attention or, just convey some wisdom, some insights that she has?
Just like a gentle reminder,
Okay.
um, that she's here, she exists, and not like a takeover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that Frazzled Dora has finally let go of her job and is laying flat on the floor, it's time to take Dora through the final step of the process, which is to do a final drawing that shows how maybe this part or she or other parts have transformed. And what Dora draws, just melts my heart.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep Frazzle Dora on the ground. Um, but I'm gonna have Relax Dora uh, be bringing a little blanket and pillow for her.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
Thank you.
that's so sweet.
Okay.
Oh, so like Relax Dora is taking care of Frazzled Dora.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so precious.
Okay. She's got a little pillow and a blanket now.
Wow. I think that's the first time that's ever happened in a session.
Really?
Yeah, like where one has come along, at least certainly in that way, like laying a blanket and like, like where one has come along and been like, okay, I'm going to take care of you now. That's so precious.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately the learning here for me is that The one is not a lazy version of me or anything. It's really just there to take care of all parts of me, to remind me that all parts of me need to be taken care of.
How does that feel, having that realization?
Man, it's like, all these all these years of fighting myself. And the answer feels so simple now. It was always there. She just wants to take care of me.
Yeah. All these parts have been trying to take care of you the best way they could, the best way they knew. So now they're just learning a new way, or at least Frazzled Dora is. It sounds like relaxing, slow down Dora is already. She's such a lovely caretaker, and now she gets to do her job.
Yeah.
Without any pushback. So
yeah, I think so.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. This was really, really nice. I'm looking forward to making healthier decisions for myself. What a journey.
Yeah.
About a week after our session, I caught up with Dora to find out how she and Frazzled Dora and Relaxing Dora were doing. Dora said, I really didn't know what to expect from this session. I didn't know what was going to come out. I've been in standard therapy for so many years. I've already worked through a lot. So I wasn't sure what I would talk about. But then we had a very fruitful 3-hour conversation that in 5 to 6 years of therapy, it's never occurred to me to say any of those things. Dora said it was truly, really, really cathartic. It really brought big things out of me. She said that our session accelerated the release of this burden she was carrying of the responsibility of work. And she realized, it's time to let it go, not be responsible for everything. I can be responsible for my own things, but I don't need to add things to my plate to feel useful and productive, because I already am. And sadly, from where I sit, too many of us have frazzled Doras inside of us, pushing to work ourselves to the bone. Maybe you're one of those people. I definitely used to be. But the reality is that it's not healthy for any of us. As much as these controllers can fuel our success, they can also sabotage it, and they can cause us to never feel fully satisfied with who we are and what we do. Only when we really get to the core reasons why and heal those parts, that's when we can experience this peace inside, that we are enough and we are doing enough just as we are. If you'd like to see the drawings from this session, go to darklighttruth.com and scroll down to the drawings section. If you want to learn how to draw out your own inner struggles and strengths, you can take our free 45-minute course in our free Change Light community. Simply go to community.changelight.world, where you can also discuss episodes of Dark Light Truth in a safe, supportive space and get my insights about them. If you are interested in going through the drawing out process privately with me over the phone or in person, go to changelight.world/coaching. If you'd like to apply to go through the drawing out process for this podcast, please apply at changelight.world/apply. If you enjoy Dark Light Truth, please post a review and share an episode with your family and friends. This raises our ratings and enables us to help even more people. Dark Light Truth was recorded on Riverside.fm and edited with GarageBand. The music is from Tribe of Noise and Soundstripe. I especially want to thank my parents, Susan and Link Eldridge, and my husband, Paco Torres, all of whom have been incredibly loving, patient, and wise mentors for me in my work. The drawing out process is not therapy and I am not a licensed therapist. I developed this work myself, and I am its exclusive owner and guide. Whether you are a seeker or practitioner, please respect that this is my proprietary work and it must be properly led in order for it to be fully effective. Do not try to do this process on your own. Thanks.
You know, when you start a conversation like this, you don't exactly know where it's going to end. So,
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, it's fun. It's an adventure. It's a discovery. I mean, there's just so much richness inside of you.